And so I showed up, and when I got there, I had insane diarrhea.
We got this organized because you actually answered one of my text messages. So thank you for doing that, Luke Thomas.
Are we recording now?
Yeah, we're gonna start right
Okay.
now.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it. I mostly like to give you shit about it, but just don't go crazy.
So let's start here then. Other than me, Luke Thomas, name 3 people you hate to receive texts from.
I would say mostly anyone.
What are the worst
I
hours
don't.
of the day to text you? During your live chat?
Sun up to sundown would be the word. No, I'm teasing. 3 people I don't want to get text from. That's a great question. I mean, I'm normally, you know what? Old. And when I say old, I mean like 10 or more years. Like old coworkers, or people that you just had the last time. You can't remember the last time you saw them, and they just hit you up randomly, which is a nice thing. I'm antisocial, but in general, I would say I'm mostly receptive. I'm just I'm a shut-in at this point.
I want you to know I was on the train home from covering a local or regional promotion that airs on Fight Pass, doing some broad commentary work for them, and I see a donk with a Morning Kombat green bomber jacket on, and he looks up at me, and only other person on this train at like 1 in the morning, and he looks up at me and he says, "Yo, stop texting Luke so much." So
that is awesome. Sorry about that, but that is funny.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That's funny.
I found the one MK fan in my city, and
that's fantastic. It'd be surprising, man. They're kind of everywhere. Like even in
They-
DC, because it's not like I started. For example, my career started in I had a weekend show on the local sports station, and so I did kind of know like the players in the area, and like people knew me from that. But then it's been a long time since I did it. And you just never know exactly how much your hometown cares about an international sport where you had the audiences like all spread out. But it happens. Yeah, I mean MK donks here all the time, man. It's very lucky.
and I'm kidding. I know for a fact there's more than one because my friend was dating a donk, and boy, let me tell you, he chewed my ear off about his many complaints, mostly about BC though.
Okay. All right. Well, as long as they're mostly about him, I'll live.
I hear you and Brian, I think the other week on MK, you were talking about how it feels like you guys are kind of stuck right now, but I don't think that's a feeling that you share alone. I think anyone in MMA media can tell you right now, it feels like it's on the decline. Like, I just dropped my Kamaru Usman video, and I'm shocked it's at 15K, because, like, I have been struggling to hit 10K with just about anyone right now. That being said, we are in this new era of MK. You guys are back in the studio. We've got a consistent schedule. What is the single best thing about this new era of MK?
It's a great question. This is I don't know if this is the answer that anybody else wants to hear. I mean, I'll say this: the sound quality on the podcast has gone up.
Good.
Right. I mean, the podcasting was, I think, we had a different operation system, and we have a new one now, and at All the Smoke, and we record in this very nice studio with Metal Arc. So like the sound quality to me is like pretty consistent, whereas before we had some microphoning issues that were kind of a running bit on the show. We can't really do that anymore. So I think certain levels of the broadcast quality have definitely leveled up in certain ways. Man, if I could just be honest with you, and this is what I'll just tell you what I feel day to day is just like lucky that it's still around. I mean, there were absolutely no guarantees it would have been once Paramount made a different decision about what kind of coverage they wanted to offer the sport, and I don't begrudge them that. Like, they're not the only ones making that decision. Like, lots of entities are now making that decision, and we were just part of it. So to have even a second act is honestly little bit of a minor miracle, to be honest. And I know there was like a lot of effort that had to go in just to get us to this. So, there are certain things I wish we could do in a way that, we did with such ease before. There are still some of those opportunities. It's not like we can't. It's just, it's a different time, and it's a leaner time, I think, for the entirety of sports media. And you just gotta learn to surf the waves as they come. And that's just what we're doing.
Agreed. And, hopefully as things start to trend back up, you're right there, ready to capitalize, and I look forward to seeing it. Luke, I see all the gray in your beard and your hair. Do you know what a toxic trait is, or is that a little bit past your?
I mean, I couldn't put two and two together,
All
but give
right.
me the Gen Z brain rot
Yeah.
definition.
What is your toxic trait? What is one negative quality that you can't seem to nip in the bud about yourself that might, impede or rub off on other people?
Oh, I'm way too high strung. And so, for example, this is why like I have to be very selective about the things that I let enter my space because one thing I cannot avoid is, for example, getting behind a car, the wheel of a car. I mean, yeah, there's always things you can do. You could take a bike, you could whatever, but like in general, having a car is part of my life. Dude, I can't do that stress free. Like the anxiety I get from how stupid everyone is in front of me, driving their cars terribly, making everyone slow. It absolutely drives me nuts. And by the way, I'm not wrong about this. Like how many more times have you, I mean, I don't remember at 18 sitting at a red light with a car in front of me, the light turns green, and that person just sits there because they're on their phone. This is a relatively new phenomenon, and it happens now all the freaking time. And I already live in a city with bad traffic to begin with. I mean, this is just an example of what I'm talking about. But like, I get behind the wheel and I'm like, you idiots, you moron, you clown. This is not good for me. It's not good for anybody in the car. It's like it represents something worse.
Yeah.
It's terrible, but that is definitely what I do, and it's definitely terrible.
Okay, that's a fair one. I'm blessed that my drive is about 10 minutes each way. My work is a little bit flexible. You will not catch me sitting in traffic. I cannot do it. I will not do it. Luke, to follow up, whose father would be more embarrassed by their son's career choices, Luke Thomas or Long Island Luke?
Um, it might be him. It might
I
be
would
him.
think so.
Yeah, it might be him. I mean, not that he's doing poorly. He's not doing poorly, but yeah, I think you know what. I just it's not crazy for a guy who was born. My dad was born in 1940, bro. The way in which he understood the world and then the risks I was taking to do this. I think some skepticism was probably pretty warranted, actually, in retrospect. So, but there's something to be said for this, which is, and this is a lesson I've learned actually hearing other creators talk about it. And it's not specific to like just my friends or family or anyone specifically, but it's a general trend, which is that when you're building a career and it's a risky one and it's actually working out, but it hasn't reached like a peak level, like it's like undeniably big. Like this, it's like the skepticism about what you're doing doesn't go away incrementally. It goes away essentially all at once. I mean, there will be some people who realize at various stages of growth that, oh, wow, this is something that's really kind of interesting or it's happening great. But a lot of people aren't going to get it until there's like a final form. And that's just human nature. And so I come to a different, now, again, a lot of this is just fodder for the show, And so I just lean into it. But yeah, I think my dad's in general. I had an article and I was featured in the Washington Post, and I was on Daily Show or a satellite program on the Daily Show universe, and you do a few of those things and people take notice.
Are you, when I started doing this kind of like 10 random question series, I had you in mind because even a bullshit question like that gets a thoughtful answer. So I appreciate it, Luke. Now, I know it's probably a microcosm of the overall audience, but does it ever cease to amaze you how many people take these jokes and bits seriously? Because I'm reminded of when I was in my broadcast journalism program and I was interning at a local radio station. They send me out onto the street to sort of ask some random questions, and I don't tackle the question the way the host had intended the first couple times, and he starts jokingly berating me, and I decide to lean into it and keep just sort of pushing back. And it was, I come back, they're all clapping, they're like, great, that was hilarious, thanks for playing along. I go to school the next day, and dude, journalism students are brats. I hated my program. All of them. It's like split down the middle. 50 are just arguing, debating each other. Half of them saying, Shaq, you ruined your entire career before it got started. The other half being like, guys, it's obviously a bit. I end up having a 3-year reoccurring segment on that West Coast radio station. Does it ever cease to amaze you how many people can't clue into like what's a bit and what's not?
Yes. There's so many times where I'm being intentionally mean to Brian. Like clearly I would never be that mean as like an ordinary way of just going through the world. Same thing I do with you, like the whole texting bit. You know what I mean? Like
I have
it's
never
it's
once
it, it
asked you for Twitter promotion ever again, though, since that one time. I'll tell you that, LT.
I know it's the point is not that it's truthful. The point is that it's fun to make fun of your friends. Like, did people not? I swear to God, did people not grow up doing this? This is the only thing we did. And by the way, that wasn't just like one circle. Like, oh, my college friends, my Marine buddies, high school friends, college friends, friends to mostly who I had through MMA. Like, this is not a thing that was unusual in my life. And then you start doing it on air, and people are like, bro, why are you beating up on him like that? I'm like, A, I'm not doing it in the way you think, and B, cause it's awesome. Like, what kind of a question is this? And you have to play on the receiving end at times too. Okay, fine. Like, you got to share in the misery. That's all part of the show too. But yes, I cannot believe how many people can't seem to realize that, like, if I felt as angry about him as they perceive it, I wouldn't do the show. I don't know. It is very shocking.
You mentioned your college days. What is one thing you did as a college frat boy that you're embarrassed to admit?
I mean, not much. um, I mean, not much.
What is the most cliche, frattiest college thing you did then?
Uh, bro, I don't even know where to begin with that. That is. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with that. Yeah, I mean, I may have engaged in. I can't even say because it's a crime, and not a serious crime, not a serious crime.
Okay.
A ultimately wrong but kind of fun in the moment crime. Not the right thing to do, not the right thing to do, but not a deal breaker to, like, be with a person. Nothing serious. Totally misdemeanor bullshit. But
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I've definitely just, I always think about, because of like all the drinking I did in my life, I always think about things like, okay, I'm like, is this a good decision or is this a bad decision? And there was just a big point in my life where I would do a lot of bad decisions for, a lot of occasions. I'll put it that way.
Fair enough. Luke Thomas, walk me through your perfect day.
Um, a lot of farting. No, teasing.
That's unavoidable. You got to learn to live with that.
Mostly at other people's expense. Perfect day. Wow. All right. A perfect day. I haven't had a perfect day maybe ever. If it's a simple day, which by the way, people seem to, the older I get, the more I realize that, when you're in your teens and your 20s and you believe in all the bullshit, what you want is to chase adventure. And I've chased adventure and I caught a fair amount of it actually. And what I realized later in my life, much, much later, was actually that, a little adventure is pretty cool actually, but that's really not what creates for happiness. What is happiness is essentially what I would call life simplicity over time. A simple pleasure is having friends sing you happy birthday. It's having a spouse to tell I love you at night. It is having a nice day to enjoy a meal outside. It is not being sick that day. It is, feeling rested and not having to worry about work. Like, and if you have enough of those days put together, that's not just a good life. That's actually a great life. Like the real challenge is not so much in its peaks. The real challenge is in the consistency of ordinary goodness. And I've realized that over time. So what I would tell you is obviously spending time, with my family, but just on a personal level, being able to get sleeping in, feeling restful enough to have an amazing workout. I truly mean that, outdoors, preferably.
In the
But
front yard? Yeah.
Right. You know what? You could take a pair of kettlebells to a park. You know, people do that. I've done that before. Just take a couple of kettlebells and fire out 45 minutes on them things, and like out in the sun, it's fucking awesome. Having like a simple but delicious meal. Again, I've said this before too. Shaq, I don't know about you, like these people who go to these restaurants where it's like 175 a person
Bro,
tasting menu.
ma and
I've
pa,
done it.
$10 or less.
Yeah,
That's
so I've done that, and it's like, don't get me wrong, the person making that food is clearly very talented, right? And there is something to be said for the combinations and what it does to, change the way you perceive food and how it tastes. But like the best food is 15 bucks and down, man. And a consistent ability to access things like that. So having like a breakfast burrito, like a good breakfast burrito, and then being able to go outside and spend time with friends on a nice day, and then maybe catching a show in some kind of way, indoors or outdoors later, and then going home feeling great and then going to bed. Like I'm telling you, dude, the older I get, I don't need adventure. I need simplicity, and that's where I derive all my joy now.
anyone making the trip to UFC Vancouver already lives there. Here's your plug. Davie Street, great joint. Only thing they do is steak sandwiches. $9 gets you a great medium rare steak sandwich.
Sounds amazing.
That was my first shout out.
I gotta go to Vancouver.
Apparently I'm like 50 years old because everything you said just resonated with me so deeply.
How old are you?
30 in September.
Wow. You're already feeling this way? You know what? That just means you're smart. That's all that means, because I didn't understand that at 30.
Yeah, the grays are starting to come out little by little. I welcome it. What are you going to do? Hey, you mentioned how integral the farting is to your day. When has blowing up the commode come closest to blowing up your professional career? Like, I don't know, maybe missing a deadline or a broadcasting spot or an episode of MK. I don't know.
What's funny about that? It's never affected my career, but it's definitely affected my personal life in two times I can recall where it was like, whoa. One time was I was on my first trip ever. You ever been to New Orleans?
No.
Oh,
was thinking about going for Mania, but they moved it to Vegas again.
Buddy, yeah, they moved it, right? Dude, New Orleans is an American treasure. I don't give a shit when anybody tells you like that.
It's like the most polarizing state I've ever heard of. People are either
people who don't know how to have fun in New Orleans are idiots. Like, and people who don't know how to eat well are idiots. Like, it's not hard to have a good time. If you can't have a good meal and a good vibe and a good day in New Orleans, you're just a miserable fuck. I don't care what anybody tells you. It's so wrong. So wrong. It's not to say it doesn't have its problems. It's got problems. Like, they're real problems, but I'm sorry, it's a great place. Anyway, first time I went, and I did the dumb stuff. I did like, Bourbon Street and all that stuff. I had like insane diarrhea on the flight home. Okay? Like the worst you'd ever seen in your life. And the plane is literally landing, and it's just a gallon of butt water firing out. And I'm in the bathroom, and the stewardesses are like just banging on the door, being like, "Sir, you cannot be in there while the plane is descending." And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, lady. This ain't optional. This ain't. And I came out like pouring sweat, because you're just stressed about the whole thing. And they must have looked at me like I was like some kind of absolute animal. Anyway, another time this was like a long ass time ago. Like, I don't know, maybe I was like in my mid 20s, and I was dating a girl, and she was in college. She was getting her master's, but just to make money on the side, she would babysit, and I had to go over for her in the afternoon because I had to study, or I had some kind of work project I was working on. So she was like, "You can come here. They're cool with it." And so I showed up, and when I got there, I had insane diarrhea. So the first thing I did was I went in there and I like shook their hands, and I was like, "Oh, I got to go to the bathroom." And then it's that scene from Dumb and Dumber where he put the laxative in his drink, and like Jeff Daniels was like, "Oh," it was just one of these things like it's noisy and rambunctious. And then I came out, and apparently the bathroom I went to was like right by the kitchen. Well, they were waiting for me when I got out, like they had not left yet, and so. She told me at the time, like all of that wafted into the kitchen, and like her parent, like the child who she was watching's parents were like borderline gagging. You know what I mean? Like it was a totally awful thing. So it's funny. It's actually never really affected me on air, but yeah, good. I'd had those.
Thank you for that. My friend recently came back from a trip. He had a similar airplane story as you, except I guess the plane had fully made its descent and it was waiting to, like connect to the gate. And for whatever reason, it started like airing out the fumes from the bathroom into the plane. So he makes this walk of shame back to his aisle as everyone on the plane is holding their breath. And one lady turns to him and goes, "That's just rude. That's just so rude." And he just had to sit there, and they wouldn't open the fucking gate. So he's sitting there for another 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
everyone is just staring
Dude,
at
but
him.
that's when you got to own it. It's like, yeah, just sit in it, bitches. Just sit there and take it. You gotta be gross about it.
Now, clearly, you can't avoid the diarrhea that is just draining through your system. But what is one feeling you find yourself, on a more serious note, avoiding rather than confronting? Just a big 180 on you here, Luke.
What's emotion? I don't
Yeah.
like. Oh, brother. I mean, I don't think I'm very much in control of that. Uh, Let me feel. I mean, there are certain kinds of things that I am more selective about what I get exposed to. I can say that, and that limits what you ultimately feel. Like, there's no shortage of criticism of me which I'm fully aware of. I mean, I've got supporters too, but there's plenty of vocal critics, and I am selective about how much praise I let myself hear, and I'm selective about how much criticism because I actually think too much of either is quite bad for you. But for a lot of reasons, one, it can manipulate your emotions in either direction in a way that may not be representative of the whole, or just, even if people really like it or don't like what you do, if you are living your values, then that's really the most important thing that matters, irrespective of whether it gets acclaim or criticism. Um, but the other part is that I you were never as a person, never in life, unless you were like, a king or, some kind of important figure in society. Like no person is meant to hear what, again, praise or blame, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have to say about you. Like you're mostly the way in which you have attuned your life. Most people in the course of human history is from the inner circle, and then maybe a little bit more broadly than that, and that has tended to suffice for the vast majority of time in humanity. And I think that's actually probably right. I think there's probably some evolutionary psychology involved in that. So I am very, very careful about trying to get good sources of criticism and, real sources, but minimal sources of praise, just to kind of stay as even as possible.
Yeah, that's a good call. All right, let's share some praise then. What is one quality about Brian Campbell that you wish you could adopt?
It's great. A great
Hard
answer.
one to answer, right?
No, it's not. I mean,
Just
the
kidding.
truth is, there's many great things about him. That the challenge is in picking one. Um, I tell you what about BC, dude. You know, I'm not saying that I don't try to do the same thing. I'm saying to him it comes very effortlessly. Um, I think there's a certain joy to the way in which he
Bro.
perceives the world.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a very simple joy. First of all, like that dude is not a bullshitter. He's a family guy. You know, that's what he's doing when he works. That's who he lives for. I mean himself too, of course, but he's a family guy. On the road, he's not fucking around. And I've seen so many people fuck around on the road. BC is not that guy. Like absolutely not even close to being that guy. Like one of these guys who realizes again having simple pleasures and simple arrangements in life consistently over time. These are not things you want to fuck with, right? Um, but I would say that one of the things that's great about BC is, he's unafraid to be who he is, whether or not people get on board or not. He's happy with who he is. But I think that the thing that is most, relevant for me is, and I kind of mentioned it before, but I just like to underscore it. He, I know that people might think more recently he's very critical because we're living in a weird time in combat sports history. But the truth is that to know BC is to know that there's like a level of joy at this. There's a certain level of optimism that powers his
Mhm.
existence. You know, there's a certain amount of things can and maybe even will be better, and just living for that, and but not in some kind of way where you can't enjoy the present. You know, it's not like, oh, we have to sacrifice, and it's nothing but difficulty until this day of salvation. I don't, you know, it's not that. It's more of there's room to be happy now, and I think they might even get better in the future. And that kind of powers his whole worldview. And I wish I had a little more of that. You know, I wish I did. I think it would make a big difference. But it's not the hand that I was dealt. Nevertheless, to answer the question, yeah, it'd be that.
It's so funny you say that. Often when I talk to people about my work and BC comes up in my sort of private life, I often tell them like, you meet so many people in this industry who I think have had the door closed on them one too many times, and
Yeah.
they're beat down and they're bitter, and even if they're well intentioned, like that pessimism just radiates. And I've always sort of tried to stick the mindset of like, I enjoy what I do. I'm happy with I enjoy what I do and I don't get paid enough to care this much. So I'm just gonna do what's sort of fulfilling and then prioritize my personal life outside of that. I don't know if I would believe that that was actually possible if not for working alongside BC.
Mm.
He champions the philosophy that I hoped I could sort of like pursue this career with.
He lives it. He,
Yeah.
he he lives and breathes it. You know, it's again, it's central to his existence. He can't but rub off on you if you have any amount of interaction with him over time. You know, so and honestly, like, yeah, obviously he's got an incredible work ethic too. So there's many things that account for his success, but at the root of it, at the heart of it, is I can do things and I
Mhm.
want to do things and things can be great and let's all have a great time until it does. Kind of a worldview. It's impressive.
All right. What a sweet sentimental note to end on, but I feel like we should end on something stupid. So, Luke, hopefully you have an answer here for me. What is the pettiest thing that you've done? It can be recently, it can be throughout your life. What's. I'll tell you mine, but.
Yeah. Oh, let me. Oh, you know what? I can tell you mine.
Okay, go for it.
Uh, I've definitely I've definitely, there's a different service. They don't send, like, the police with guns. There's a different service for it here. It's no. It's like a community, like, patrol service. But I've definitely called that on the college kids partying at 4 a.m. making loud ass music. I've definitely done that. Absolutely.
Is there no, like, Scouts honor from one frat boy to another?
See, well, we lived on campus.
Oh, I see.
I never lived off camp. I noticed that the fraternities live in different circumstances in different places, but that's not what we did. We actually had, it was Unit E on the row in William and Mary, for folks who know anything about the campus. And I don't know what Unit E is now, but it was by the place where they play basketball. Anyway, long story short is we didn't have to worry about those things, and so, and here's the other part too. Like, I can't do it in Colombia, but bro, every time I cannot believe. So this is why Colombia is both heaven and hell to me. It's heaven because it's just a great place, and I'm so lucky to get to go there, and the people are amazing. But it's hell in one important respect, which is, dude, they party to such a degree that I don't think the average American understands, and definitely not the average Canadian. Like, my wife and I were, before I went there, used to brag. She's like, we're better at partying than Americans, and I'm like, this can't possibly be true. And it's not only true, it's true in a way where it's like you wouldn't even want to party that much. You couldn't even imagine how much partying that, like how every day it is. Which means that people are playing wall thumping music 365 in a way that, like, I have to sleep with fucking earplugs, and that part drives me motherfucking crazy. But you get the idea.
As a whitewashed Canadian who grew up in a Persian household, I can promise you that white people party the least and they are
Yeah.
categorically the worst at it.
Yes. Yeah, dude, they drink all night, and then they don't seem to wake up all that messed up. They dance all night. Like they don't need, dude. I cannot believe how many holidays they have in Colombia, dude. They have one, and I am not kidding you. Every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, they basically have some national holiday that takes place on a Friday or a Monday, and so there's just
Beautiful.
revelry in the streets, bro. It is. You cannot imagine how much they do it, and it's not quiet. Is the point I'm trying to make? It's not very quiet.
Yeah, not good for those simple days of sleeping in and enjoying a quiet meal outside that Luke
Yeah, I
cherishes
mean,
so
if you're
much.
partying with them and you get a little taste of it, it could be great. But then it's like that was Monday. What are we gonna do the rest of these days? Yeah, it's too much.
Luke, any words of wisdom to leave the people here with?
Read books, you fucking losers. Read books. And I don't even give me this bullshit like I don't have the reading stamina to last more than 5 pages. Start there, you two pump chump. Start there and then work on it. Work on your stamina. Work on these things. Reading books and sitting with something for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, only thinking through that time about the material you're reading, this will make your brain stronger. Not really because you'll get more information that way, but it's healthier for your brain to sit with things like that. I know you're all doom scrolling. I know you're doing that, and I know you're not, you're just catching things and highlights and clips on Twitter. You're not watching anything. Read books. I don't care if it's on your Kindle or try not to read on your phone, but if that's all you got, then you got to do it. But read a hardcover book. Read books.
Luke, I struggle to think of 10 books I've read in my life.
Dude,
But I have one of your recommendations on my Kindle waiting for me, actually.
that is entirely shameful. I think I've read more than 10 books this year
Yeah,
already.
no,
I cannot. Well, no, that's not quite true. No, I think I'm closer to 6 or 7, but still.